UFC 316 full fight card predictions. We're back on YouTube. It's official. Every single day you'll be getting a YouTube video. And I feel like it was kind of fitting if I did the first one to be a full fight card prediction between Rob Dvalishvili and O'Malley. Their rematch, most undeserved title fight in UFC history. Sean O'Malley getting an immediate rematch against Rob Dvalishvili. One of the most undeserved. I remember making a video about Tatiana Suarez getting a very undeserved one against Zhang Weili. We'll move forward with that. Let's talk about these fights. Really good card. I'll see you guys every single morning at 7 in the morning Eastern Time, 4 a.m. Pacific Time, and 12 p.m. UK time for my videos. But this one will be posted a little bit different time, but that's when my daily updates will be. I'll stop boring you. Let's go into the fights. Let's break down every single card, every single fight from the bottom to top of the card. Let's get going with Markel Medeiros versus Mark Choinsky. I do think Choinsky can implement the wrestling a little bit, but I'm not too confident in coming in on short notice against Medeiros. For Medeiros had a fight booked last week, fell ill. It was a little bit of a concern considering that he was sick and then all of a sudden is healthy, and I'm not too confident. I don't know if you guys understand how it is being sick, but you don't just immediately recover like that. Anyways, I'm kind of favoring Medeiros in this fight. I think Medeiros looked a little bit worse in the last fight against Austin Hubbard, considering he was fighting in Mexico City. He wasn't really as up to par with his cardio. I don't really think he was looking as good as he usually does in his fights. I think Medeiros is a better striker here. I think he can actually work with the wrestling against Choinsky, and I'm much more favorable in him improving as a fighter in the UFC. I actually don't mind Medeiros as a prospect. I don't think he's some world beater. I think he's some maybe fringe top 20 guy in UFC caliber level. I think he's okay, and I think he's going to be able to manage here, and he's still improving at 26 years old. He's going to be fine against Choinsky in this fight. I think he's going to be able to keep him at bay. I think he's going to be able to be the better striker in this fight. And honestly, I think he can get his own takedowns here. Even if Choinsky defends him well, I think Medeiros will be able to show it, mix it up a little bit. We'll open his strikings up a little bit more. I'm favoring Medeiros in this matchup more than likely by decision. But one of my least confident picks on the card because of him coming off of the illness and it being very short notice, very sporadic, and very volatile of an outcome in that fight. Quillan Salkild against Yanal Ashmouz. I think Ashmouz is kind of outmatched here. Ashmouz is going to be moving backwards a lot against a much bigger fighter. In Salkild, I think Salkild can match him in the power. But the big issue is when you're going to be moving backwards, as Ashmouz does, if you're not also going to be putting out output and you're relying solely on power, which he does, and you don't have some gigantic grappling upside, which he also does not have a grappling upside, he's just going to be backing up a majority of the fight with the shorter reach, a significant margin in the reach, by the way, in a 7-inch reach disadvantage, also weigh 4 inches in the leg. He's 3 inches shorter as well. Will be moving backwards for the most part. Ashmouz will be. I think Salkild's going to push the pace on him. I think Salkild's going to get in his face. I think Salkild could take him down relentlessly in this fight as well, and considering that Ashmouz is going to be moving back a lot more, I think Salkild has a very significant grappling upside in this fight, especially with the position in which this fight is going to be taking place. I think this fight's going to be taking place with Salkild pushing Ashmouz back towards the cage, as Ashmouz will be accepting back foot a lot. I think that's something people don't really consider too much in breaking down fights. You need to understand where somebody's going to be moving and how this fight's going to be taking place, because if you don't know who's moving forward or who's moving backwards, you don't know how this fight's going to look across these 15 minutes, if 15 minutes at all, right? I do think Salkild's going to be able to move forward, and he's going to take him down. I think he could submit Ashmouz in this fight. Ashmouz is relatively durable, so a knockout would be pretty interesting. I think both guys are durable for the most part. Give me Salkild over here by submission. Moving on, we have Jeka Sergey fighting Ju Sung Yu. This is one of the beatings of the night. Ju Sung Yu looking great, looking fantastic in his overall photo over here. In his overall photo, I'm starting to break it down professionally, right? I haven't done a YouTube video in a while. I've been kind of just posting it on TikTok, and I get to hold that button, and it's just an easier break, and I get to click delete. But I'd have to edit these. I don't want to edit them. It's just, Yu's gonna whoop him. Ju Sung Yu's gonna whoop him. I think he's a much better striker. I think he's a much harder hitter. I think Sergey's a wild man, and he just enters and doesn't really think. Not too durable. Could even get subbed in this fight. Would be surprised if he doesn't. Would be surprised if he does. Gee, oh my god, man. Yeah, I think Ju Sung is gonna hurt him. I think he's gonna hurt him coming in every single time. Much better strike overall. Good timing. I don't think he's some world beater of a prospect. I just think Sergey's horrible. I think it's a good showcase spot for a guy coming into the UFC with his debut. Very methodical matchmaking from the UFC. Give me Ju Sung Yu by knockout here. Ariana De Silva versus Kong Wong. I think it's a really good fight. I feel like or Lipski, De Silva, whatever you call her, I think Lipski's decent. I think Lipski can kind of match with Wong. We haven't really seen Wong fight against decent level competition in the UFC with some substance. The Bruno Brazil win was whatever, very subpar, nothing really too interesting. And the Victoria Leonardo win. I mean, Leonardo's a punching bag, and we expected her to just knock her out cold, and which she quite literally did. The Gabriela Fernandez fight, she was winning basically the whole fight. Fernandez ended up cracking her, and Fernandez hits like a truck, and then jumped the bag. Lipski can hit hard, maybe not as hard as Gabriela Fernandez. I don't think she has the pop to her shot that Fernandez does, although a little bit better overall. But she's been cracked by much worse than Wong. I think she's been walked down by worse. I think she's had some decent wins, Casey O'Neill being her best win in my opinion, but she's also been out-grappled by pretty subpar competition too, and she's been finished by pretty subpar competition. I don't really see her winning minutes in this fight without finishing Wong. Wong's only loss was that Gabriela Fernandez win as well in MMA. I think Wong knocks out Lipski. I do think there's a possibility where Lipski gets in some sort of submission and gets on top where I don't know how that would happen. I'd be surprised because Lipski doesn't really shoot in takedowns that often. Maybe it would have to be off the clinch where they get Wong overextending and Lipski takes her down in the clinch off of some momentum shift. But yeah, I'd be genuinely shocked. My momentum shift, by the way, I mean like physical momentum. Like Wong overextends, Lipski is in the clinch. They kind of end up in a messy clinch and Lipski takes her down, right? Lipski's not really shooting single legs or double legs like that and chaining them in to get Wong down. So I think Wong knocks her out. I don't think Lipski takes damage too well anymore. Queen of Violence doesn't really play with her as much anymore. Doesn't really fit as much apart from that. I mean, she had a really nasty arm bar on Casey O'Neill. And then that knee bar, I forgot, I think it was against Carolina. Had a really, really nasty knee bar on Carolina. But yeah, give me Wong by knockout in this fight. I think she's just a better overall mixed martial artist. I know people will probably call that wild. But yeah, I think Wong's going to be able to hurt her pretty often, and Lipski kind of leaves herself open, or De Silva. Chaos Williams versus Andreas Gustafsson. So I had Gustafsson in his fight last week against Trevin Giles. I think he's going to completely walk through Trevin Giles. Small cage, big pace, big hitter. Giles, bad chin, doesn't really do too well with pace, moves backwards a lot. Chaos will stand his ground. Chaos will be fine if somebody's moving forward. If Gustafsson fights like a wild man like he always does, I think he gets caught in this fight. I think these weights, by the way, are like wildly off. Like, I don't know why they have these weights so bad. Kong Wong, Lipski, they have that right. They had that one right. Some of these weights are a little bit weird. Maybe Chaos, I don't even remember. Anyways, Chaos Williams, in my opinion, could hit harder than Gustafsson. I think he could walk him forward. I think Gustafsson, the way he fights, the pace he fights at, the ridiculous output I wouldn't say just ridiculous output, but like, he fights like a madman. He leaves himself open pretty often. He's very sloppy at times, and this is not really the fight to be sloppy coming in on short notice against a guy who, I mean, both of them are pretty much on short notice, both preparing for a fight, just not for each other. And Chaos hits hard, maybe even harder than Gustafsson. I think he's a little bit more clean in his striking overall, a little bit better defensively. If Gus even wants to shoot, I think Chaos could stop it. I think Chaos can get up a lot better. He got up a couple times against Gabriel Bonfim, and Bonfim is not some absolute, gem. My God, I'm losing it. Gustafsson is nowhere near the grappler Bonfim is. I was completely losing what I was saying. Bonfim's a gem of a grappler. Gustafsson is nowhere near the grappler Bonfim is. I don't really think he's going to be able to hold down Chaos. It's going to be mainly on the feet, and I favor Chaos relatively substantially on the feet here. So give me Chaos Williams. I think he could actually knock out Gustafsson. Just the way Gustafsson fights will present a lot of opportunities for Chaos here. Sergey Spivak versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. I'm a little in the mix on both of these, right? So I pick Spivak. I think Spivak will win this fight. I'm a little concerned his ability to take damage because he gets hit, kind of folds, kind of quits, doesn't really offer much after taking a decent amount of damage in a fight, right? He's not like a just complete guy quitting and giving up, right? But durability and lack of fight that shows in him when he does take a bit of damage is a little bit of a concern, especially at heavyweight where Waldo's going to be trying to take your head off. That's what Waldo tries to do. He tries to, I wouldn't say he also tries to take your head off, but Waldo sometimes tries to pace you, tries to keep you at bay, use his jab, use his length, fight a little bit better, but he doesn't have the reach here. 70-inch reach at heavyweight, interesting. Sergey Spivak's a better grappler. He's a much better wrestler overall. Spivak, out-grappled Marcin Tybura. You don't really see that too often. You also see Sergey Spivak against Jailton Almeida getting on top. And I think his level of competition has been a lot better. Performance against that high-level competition is also showcased. So it's not just about who he fights. It's about how he's looked against who he fights. Yes, he lost to Jailton Almeida, but he also got on top of Jailton Almeida. Whereas Waldo Cortez Acosta against Marcos Rogerio de Lima got taken down 3 times, controlled for 5 minutes, and that was the last grappler he's fought. He really hasn't fought a grappler since then. Lucas Brzezinski. Who else has he fought? Ryan Spann. Rebellis to Spain, and I think there's one more fight. Andrei Arlovsky. Nobody really grapples. Nobody against him grappled in those fights. He's facing the best grappler he's faced in his career. The last time he faced a grappler in the UFC was 2 years ago, where he got out-grappled, and that was the basis of how he lost his fights. I think Spielak's going to be dominant on the mat here. If he doesn't get hurt on the feet, if he doesn't just get completely clipped and quits, I think he wins minutes in this fight, taking Cortez Acosta down and pretty much dominating him on the mat. Could even find a finish. I think it's a pretty interesting fight to see. Somebody can probably get finished. Either Spivak folds, or I think Spivak gets on top of Waldo and hurts him. This is a fantastic card, by the way. I mean, the fights on this card are going to be so good. Give me Spivak in this one. I think Spivak could finish him. Could win by decision. Yeah, I'm going Spivak on this one. I think he gets him down pretty often. This is the whooping of the night. Mirzakhanov is going to beat the life out of Brenson Ribeiro. This matchmaking is what it is. You can't really do much about it because at the end of the day, short notice opponent, UFC couldn't find anybody to fight Mirzakhanov. I don't know why. Greatest promotion in MMA, and they just can't, whip out the checkbook to get certain people to fight. Anyways, Brenson Ribeiro sucks. Bad MMA, right? Mirzakhanov was much better overall. I wish Mirzakhanov was a little bit younger because very, very great fighter at light heavyweight. Barely comes in, just beats the life out of somebody every now and then that he comes in. So, give me Mirzakhanov here by knockout. I think it's just a complete mismatch. Yes, gigantic reach disadvantage. Much, honestly, smaller in physical stature overall. But he hits like a truck. The guy's much better overall MMA. He's a better striker. He could wrestle if he wants to here, but he probably won't. I think he's going to crack Ribeiro. Ribeiro's going to eat them pretty badly. Not going to take damage too well, and he's going to go out. I think Mirzakhanov's going to finish him. Mirzakhanov being 35 years old, not too much to go to from there. He probably would have knocked out Johnny Walker as well. Only got so far to go in MMA when you're 35 years old, going up a weight class. Not going up a weight class, but trying to climb up the rankings. Joshua Van versus Bruno Silva. This is also going to be a whooping. I think Joshua Van's going to win every single minute of this fight. And maybe Bruno Silva has moments where he hurts Josh Van, he clips him, and Silva hits like a truck. The problem with Josh Van is he gets a little bit arrogant with his defense. He kind of leaves himself too open, kind of trusts his chin a little bit too often, and he's still super young, and he's ridiculously active. This is like his 8th fight in 2 years, I believe. He's maybe my favorite prospect in the UFC right now. And he's ranked right now, so maybe Loner Kavanaugh is my favorite prospect in the UFC right now. Because he's, still considered a prospect because he's not in the rankings. I love Josh Van. I think this guy's fantastic. I think he's an unbelievable boxer. I think he's so clean. He's one of the most fun fighters to watch in the UFC right now, if not the most fun. Alongside one of the most fun, right? This guy's fantastic, and he's only going to get better and better as he gets older. And I can't wait to keep watching him climb these rankings. This guy is so fun to watch. I want to keep watching. I want to watch him in stylistically nightmare matchups for him to see how he improves in them. I wanted to watch that Tatsuro Taira fight. This guy is fantastic. He is a very, very good fighter. I think he styles on Bruno Silva unless Bruno Silva cracks him. Honestly, that's really how this fight goes. If Bruno Silva has a chance to knock him out because of how often Josh Van leaves himself open and puts himself in firefights. Got dropped against Kevin Borjas. Knocked out against Charles Johnson, obviously in the 3rd round by a nasty uppercut. Got hurt, I think, over the top. I think like a right hand grazed the temple or something like that. And then also the Edgar Chairez fight was putting himself through war. Obviously, he's about to finish Chairez. Chairez is very durable, withstood the barrage from Josh Van, and then Chairez landed something, and he had Van hurt, right? So, yeah, Van gets clipped a little bit often, but he is actually relatively durable. Just got clipped pretty badly against Charles Johnson. Yeah, I actually really like Josh Van. Also, kind of early stoppage against Van. Charles Johnson, even though his head bounced off the canvas. Josh Van by whooping. Anyways, on to the main card. A lot of people have Vicente Luque this week. Why? He cannot take damage anymore. He is not doing well with damage. Go watch that Buckley fight. Yes, Buckley is a top 5 or top 6 welterweight right now. He's fighting Kamaru Usman. Very different fight than Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland sucks. He only comes for a paycheck. 170-pound Kevin Holland is not the same Kevin Holland that fights at 185 pounds. This is not the same Kevin Holland. Not even close. Not even remotely close is this Kevin Holland to that Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland at 185 is fighting much bigger guys getting grappled by those guys, which you see against Marvin Vettori, against Derek Brunson, against RDR, against Roman Dolidze, where a couple of these guys have even fought at 205 in their careers, right? So what are we talking about, right? Holland down at 170 has a size advantage. He's very active on the mat. He doesn't really get taken down, grappled, and put in bad positions at 170. I think he had his back taken by Alex Cowboy Oliveira earlier in his career, but got out of it, defended it pretty well. He's a really good jiu-jitsu. He has really good submission defense, honestly, Holland does. Hamza Chimaev submitted him, 180-pound catch weight, 1 day notice. Great. Complete dirty takedown, by the way. But again, that's Hamza Chimaev. This is what it is. Vicente Luque, not really much of a wrestler. If he does, like he did against RDA, I think Holland, 1, more difficult to take down, considering his length at 170. 2, much more difficult to keep down at 170. And 3, very, very active on the mat, right? And that's the one concern I have with Luque. If he does get on top, Holland's going to be ridiculously active. Ridiculously active on the mat. Throwing up a lot of submissions. Very, very active guard. Kind of elbowing Luque as he's down there, right? So I think Holland will be fine if he's on bottom. I think he'll be fine on the feet. I think he'll be landing more. I think Luque does have a little bit of power, but doesn't really have the setup as much slower. Although 33 years old, not really too aged. You could clearly tell the damage is caught up to him. Yeah, even in his prime, if you go look at Luque's prime, he was fantastic. A lot of people thought he could very well win the championship. But at the same time, Vicente Luque, in his prime, not really the greatest resume. I think his best win was Tyron Woodley, the washed-up Tyron Woodley at the time. Michael Chiesa was the other best win that he had? How many of those wins that he had at the time were aging well? I guess Randy Brown was one. It was Randy Brown. Yeah, I think Holland's going to be able to hurt him. Holland, way too durable, honestly, for Luque, in my opinion. Gigantic favorite, by the way, Holland is, right? Yeah, I very reluctant to ever make Holland that big of a favorite, regardless of how much I do favor him in this fight. But, that's why we don't gamble. Patchy Mix against Mario Bautista. Bautista is going to set a pace on Patchy Mix in this fight. And unless Patchy Mix submits Mario Bautista, there is no way he's winning this fight. He lost his last fight against Magomed Magomedov in the PFL or Bellator or whatever they call that, right? He lost that fight. I watched the tape on that fight. He lost that fight. You can make an argument. He lost all 5 rounds in that fight. I don't see how Patchy Mix comes into this fight unless he catches Mario Bautista with a fantastic submission, because he has a really good guillotine. He has a really good back take. I understand these prefaces to this game, but if he does not catch him with a submission, how does he win this fight? He's not winning on the feet. He's going to be pressured. He's very, very flat-footed on the feet. He accepts back foot against the guy who's been pressuring him all fight. Mario Bautista being heavily disrespecting his abilities just because he held Jose Aldo for 3 rounds. And in my opinion, still won the fight, as boring as it was. He did win that fight against Jose Aldo. I think Mario Bautista is getting way more hate, being much more reprimanded for that fight, and being much more disrespected than Merab was when Merab did it to Jose Aldo at Elevation, right? So, yeah, I think Bautista is a very decent grappler overall. I do think, obviously, Patchy's a better jiu-jitsu player. I think he's a fantastic jiu-jitsu player at bantamweight and MMA. One of the greatest, honestly, jiu-jitsu players in MMA history, in my opinion, just regarding his usage of jiu-jitsu and MMA. But again, that's against much, much worse competition. But I'm seeing him sinking pretty good guillotines without even the full guard, right? So he even did it to Magomed Magomedov, who he literally just lost to. Yes, he lost that fight. His first fight against Magomed Magomedov, he submitted him out cold with that guillotine. So really good guillotine, really good back take. Apart from his jiu-jitsu, relatively subpar game. I think it's hysterical that people were calling him the greatest bantamweight in the world at the time. So Peter Yan whoops him. I think Sean O'Malley could beat the life out of him. I think Umar Magomedov beats the life out of him. I think Merab could set a pretty nasty pace on him. Yeah, I think Bautista could set a pace on him here. If he doesn't get submitted, this is Bautista's entire fight here. Give me Mario Bautista by decision in this fight. Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer, one of the most unlikable fighters, I would say, in UFC history. Joe Pyfer is at it right now, fighting against Kelvin Gastelum, the fridge, who's coming in right now. That's not his nickname, is it? I don't know, I'm going to take it. Kelvin Gastelum's going to be running in back up to 185. Hasn't fought in 185. I don't know why they have his weight at 201 pounds. That's insane. They have Kelvin Gastelum's weight at 201 pounds. Anyways, Gastelum hasn't fought at 185 pounds in 2 years. I think he most recently fought Daniel Rodriguez. I can't remember if it was Daniel Rodriguez or Sean Brady. It was the most recent fight. But, yeah, I think it was Daniel Rodriguez, I'm pretty sure. Look decent. D-Rod's not the greatest. I think he's okay. I think Pyfer's not as great as people made him out to be, but hits like a truck at 185. I think he's pretty decent overall. I think he has an okay process, nothing crazy, but big size advantage, big power advantage in my opinion over here. And Gastelum's been dropped pretty often in his fights recently. Now fighting at 185 for 2 years and coming back up and fighting, in my opinion, the hardest hitter he's faced throughout his entire career. Maybe you could put Cannonier over Pyfer, but I think Pyfer hits harder than Cannonier. I'm not really too excited to see Gastelum in this fight, because he's going to be losing moments in this fight. Maybe he wins a couple minutes. I think the volume discrepancy is nowhere near as big as people expect it to be. I think Gastelum actually may land maybe 0.1 strikes less. I think the statistics I saw were less per round or per minute than Pyfer. It's very, very close to strikes landed per minute. I think Pyfer is going to be moving forward pretty often in this fight. Maybe they meet in the middle, and that would be even worse for Gastelum. Regardless, Gastelum's going to have to be either moving backwards or meeting him in the middle in this fight. I don't see Pyfer moving backwards too often. Pyfer has a pretty big arrogance behind him, but it's, with arrogance comes some insecurity. So maybe if Gastelum pushes enough of a pace, lands a bit on Pyfer, maybe Pyfer backs up. The way he's been talking in his press conference is not too, confident, luring. But I like Pyfer. I think he could actually hurt Gastelum in this fight. I think knowing Gastelum hasn't been knocked out in his entire career, but he's been dropped pretty often and coming back up a weight class. After 2 years of not fighting at 185 against Pyfer, I wouldn't be the most shocked in the world if for the first time in his career he gets knocked out. And I think Pyfer's going to be landing big on him. I think Pyfer's going to hurt Gastelum. And even if he doesn't knock him out, he's going to be winning the moments enough during these rounds to overtake anything Gastelum had been doing that round. So I think Pyfer's going to be able to hurt Gastelum pretty often, win the big moments, and win either a decision or maybe be the first person to knock out Gastelum. On to the co-main event. Kayla Harrison. I'm going to keep this short because this is a pretty fun fight. It's not. Kayla Harrison's going to run her over. It's a semi-truck hitting a fawn running across the highway at 90 miles per hour, right? Like, it's not really anything to watch, to expect. Like, I think Kayla Harrison, if she makes 135 pounds, she's going to be fine. She's going to have to make that cut. It's going to be a tough cut for her to make. We're going to find out. By the time I make this video, this is Thursday, so tomorrow, the weigh-ins. Harrison is going to run through her. She's better at everything MMA. She's the better striker. She's the better judo. She is the better wrestling. She's bigger. She's quicker. I think she's more explosive. She's a better jiu-jitsu on the mat. Juliana's not good at anything MMA. I don't think Juliana is really good at anything MMA. I think she lost the fight to Raquel Pennington. I thought that was a disgraceful decision. Raquel Pennington clearly won that fight against Juliana Pena. There really just isn't much hype to give the Raquel Pennington fight. I think Juliana talks well enough to keep her in this title picture just to get smashed by Kayla Harrison to where you could set up the Kayla Harrison versus Nunes fight. The only route victory for Juliana Pena is praying to God that Harrison doesn't finish you within the first 2 or 3 rounds. Then you get to see 5 rounds and see if you can extend her and win minutes off of that, but probably not going to finish Harrison. I think Harrison wins the first 3 rounds relatively comfortably. I think Harrison submits her. I watched her get submitted by Germaine de Randamie by a horrific guillotine, and Germaine de Randamie is known as a striker. Very long, so it's a little bit different, but I think Harrison's going to dominate her on the mat, get her down, get her back, submit her, and it kind of opens up that Nunes fight more interestingly because Nunes beat Pena for 5 rounds, lost to Pena, and then, Harrison just walks through her and submits her. It's a very interesting build-up. Yes, I'm not using plot armor as a reason, but there's your plot armor for the day, right? I think Harrison's going to walk through her. Maybe these weights are midweek check-ins. I don't know. I don't know if that's a reality. I don't know if that's a thing. Anyways, Kayla Harrison by mauling. And main event. Was that not a different picture? So why do they have this picture here, but when I click on it, they give me his fuzz? I don't know. I like the no colored dreads. Not dreads. Cornrows. No, the no colored cornrows. Kind of what he started off his UFC career when he fought Quinones. It was a pretty fun fight overall. Anyways, I think O'Malley's going to win the fight. I think O'Malley has it this time. I think O'Malley is the younger fighter who's longer, who's quicker, who's faster, better footwork overall. In my opinion, much better positionally on the feet, and he'll be able to position himself much better on the feet in this fight than he was in last fight coming in on a hip injury. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, he was on a hip injury, that's a load of garbage, it's an excuse, whatever. Jack Della Maddalena fought Gilbert Burns on a broken arm, and then people said it was a complete lie, and then he fought Bilal Muhammad after repairing his arm, and he was fine. Takedown defense looked a lot better. Shafkat Rakhmonov fought Ian Gary on a torn MCL or whatever it was. People called it a lie. He had surgery on it. Clear. Peter Yan fought Merab, torn ACL, had surgery on it. People called it a lie, then he had surgery. Clear. I hate the complete dismissal of major injuries in MMA. A lot of people also saying everybody comes into a fight always injured. I don't know how you can just completely neglect major injuries in fights. O'Malley did not look like himself in that fight. Yes, you could attribute a lot of it to Merab and how he fought. But O'Malley's movement looked so poor. His shots looked so much more telegraphed than they ever will. O'Malley is a much better striker than he showed in that fight, and he's one of the best strikers in the UFC, and honestly one of the best strikers we've seen in the UFC. I think he has fantastic hands. I think his footwork is fantastic. There's a very big difference between a guy who circles around and a guy who runs around and a guy who has footwork. O'Malley's footwork is literally gorgeous in the octagon. It's fantastic. I hate saying that. I don't like the guy. I don't like him as a persona. I like him as a fighter. I really like him as a fighter. I'm a Peter Yan fan. Got Rob blind. Still going to say O'Malley's going to win this one. I picked Merab the first fight, picking O'Malley this one. I think he's going to be able to keep it at bay. I think, mark my words, Sean O'Malley is going to be able to walk down Merab in this fight. He will be moving forward often in this fight, not as much backwards as he was last fight. He will not also be backing up to the cage nearly as much. But I think the biggest difference in this fight now, compared to the first fight, is one, of course, the injury. That's one thing. So his scrambles will be a little bit better. He's going to be able to move a little bit more fluidly. He'll be able to defend takedowns a little bit more confidently. Use his hips to kind of frame himself. Use his underhooks, all that stuff, right? Sprawls, good. But the main thing is O'Malley's felt Merab. He's seen his entries. He's seen how Merab's coming on him. Pause. He's seen how Merab's entered with his takedowns. He's seen how Merab uses his, I don't even say footwork, kind of just uses like a jab or something like that. Uses his shots to set up takedown shots, right? Use strikes to set up takedown shots. I think, one, it's easier to time those with Merab having a very linear, not linear, but very one-dimensional style. It's maybe the greatest one-dimensional fighter in UFC history. I mean, he quite literally has pace, pressure, and takedowns. It's the cardio that consists, that encompasses his entire game. And if he's not constantly moving forward, taking you down, which again, it's much easier said than done. He's basically doing that to everybody. What's Merab doing? Merab's not really doing too much damage on the feet. He did against Umar, not really doing too much against O'Malley on the feet. He does a little bit, kind of open up on the feet just because his wrestling is opening that up big time for him, but not really that great on the feet. His strikes aren't that great. I think it's opened up from his wrestling, and I think O'Malley kind of understands that. I do think O'Malley's going to be much more confident in being taken down by Merab. Yes, in being taken down. Because Merab doesn't necessarily have much to give you once he takes you down. One, he tries to hold you against the cage more often. You don't really see him holding people in the open mat nearly as often, right? Kind of like when I broke down Bilal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena. Bilal usually shoots against the cage. He doesn't really shoot in the open mat. Doesn't really shoot off the back foot nearly as often. Did like once against Vicente Luque or twice. But that's very indicative. How these guys get their takedowns is very important, and that's how you need to kind of break down a fight. If O'Malley's moving forward a little bit in this fight, Merab's not going to be able to take him down. If O'Malley's, I think he'll be able to take him down, but not as often. It's kind of like when Bilal took JDM up in the open mat. He's not going to be able to take him down in the open mat that often. I don't think Merab's going to be able to keep him down in the open mat that often. I think O'Malley's going to be fine here. I think O'Malley's going to be able to win minutes on the feet. I think he's going to do the more damage in this fight. I think O'Malley's going to be able to keep Merab at bay. I think he's going to be able to move forward. I think Merab cannot win a minute moving backwards, while O'Malley can win a minute moving backwards and forwards in this fight. Merab got the pace pushed on him in round 5. Maybe he was cruising because he was up 3-1 or 4-0 in the first fight, but O'Malley hurt him to the body in the 5th round. And O'Malley was winning on a bad hip, was moving forward, and was pushing the pace on Merab in the 5th round. Landed a really good knee. Timed that as Merab came in. O'Malley won the 5th round conclusively against Merab. Yes, you could say Merab threw that away. That's fine. He still was trying to run away. Not run away, but, milk the clock essentially in the 5th round. And then he was looking up at the clock. I think O'Malley's cardio is being wildly underrated in this fight. I think he's being wildly disrespected in this fight. Give me Sean O'Malley by knockout. Round 2, round 3. And I will wear, I said this on my TikTok. I said this on my TikTok lives. I made a whole video about it. If Sean O'Malley loses, I'm so confident in Sean O'Malley winning that if Sean O'Malley loses, I will wear a full clown costume, go live on TikTok on Sunday for a full hour in that clown costume, as well as on Sunday post an apology video with the clown costume on about Merab and Sean O'Malley. So yeah, I may even do it maybe Saturday night. I appreciate all you guys for being here. Thank you guys all for watching. I want you guys to subscribe to my YouTube channels. We'll be posting every single day. Make sure you go follow my TikTok at MMA_DBM. And make sure you guys join my 4-ounce league. Very fun to join. Very easy to play. $25 giveaway out of my pocket. I will start posting these more. Like, I'll show 4-ounce and stuff like that on my YouTube videos a little bit more often. But yeah. O'Malley and New. Kayla Harrison and New. We're gonna smoke these fights. 2 underdogs that I have, O'Malley and Mario Bautista. Not really into much else on this card. Yeah, this is going to be a very, very fun card. I think we're going to see plenty of finishes, maybe at least 5 knockouts on this card. Let me know what you guys think of the predictions. If you think it sucks, think it's great, whatever it is. Appreciate you guys all for being here. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. This would be like pretty quick back-to-back videos you'll see. But every 7 in the morning Eastern time, 12 p.m. UK, you will get a video on my YouTube channel from now on. And I'll be posting a bunch of shorts as well. So thank you guys. See you guys tomorrow. Peace out. Wrong button.